Hi, I'm Ben, and this is Professor Cirone.
Yes.
Want to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Joe Cirone, Oakton Community College, Department Chair of Mechanical Design CAD, and Professor of Manufacturing.
All right. So how long have you worked here?
I started here in about 95 part-time,
Okay.
and 99 full-time,
Okay.
so a little over 15 years.
All right. You enjoying it so far?
So far, so good.
All right. The first question I wanted to ask was, you were first a manufacturing engineer. Did I get that right? When you first started out.
I would consider it a technologist or a technician, yeah.
And so, could you tell us like the school catalog definition of that?
Technologist, well, you have like technicians, technologists, engineers, and it depends on the type of degree that you have. And so I went to Northern Illinois University out there in DeKalb, and I studied industrial technology. And I have a bachelor's degree in engineering, design, and drafting technology with a minor in metals. And I also have a teaching certificate for Type 9 industrial arts. And with those qualifications, it gave me the title of technologist. And then I went on to further my studies with a master's degree in industrial management. And you're still a technologist, but to be an engineer, you have to go to engineering school, which is a different type of program. And so that's kind of how that works: technologist versus engineer.
Okay. So then, as a technologist, what did you end up doing?
Well, I kind of got into it in high school. Back in the day when I was in high school, back in the 80s, we had some pretty strong manufacturing programs. So I went to District 214, and I started with graphic arts and metals. And I think I did an auto class as well. But I really did well in the metals class. I liked it. We had this great big lab with like a half a dozen lathes and mills, foundry. I mean, they were as big as what we have here. And so I went through that program for 3 years. And then I went to Southern Illinois University, and I studied tool and manufacturing. And it was funny because I found that our program in high school was stronger than what they had at SIU. And so I transferred to NIU and got into engineering design. But essentially, the technologies I picked up at an early age in high school, making things out of metal. A lot of my friends were in these trades and things like that. And so I got pretty good at it. And I found it was a nice way to make money. When I went to college, I would work part-time.
What type of jobs were those?
I worked for Packer Engineering Associates, which does accident investigation. They're still in business, and I worked as a technologist in the machine shop area where we would build test fixtures. Packer Engineering does accident investigation, and so I was on an account where they were investigating Grumman. Grumman makes buses, and so the city of New York was suing Grumman because their buses were falling apart, and they said they weren't lasting long enough. And what Packer would do would be to take the bus, and we would put it up on big blocks and put 3 50-pound sandbags on each bus seat, and then we would put strain gauges throughout the bus. And what a strain gauge does is it measures the amount of deformation. And so we would literally twist the bus and see if we could get like the rivets to pop off or get the axles to break, and see what kind of problems maybe it was the maintenance that wasn't changing the shock absorbers and things. So I did that, did some other things with there were some lawsuits with gun testing, guns, and so we made gun testing chambers and seeing if we could make them misfire. ATVs were kind of a big deal back then, and we would go through and test those. But it was really pretty cool because I was making about $16 an hour, and this was back in the 90s, and there weren't really very many people who knew how to fabricate things out of metal. And the company had an internship program where I was working with all these other guys that were going to college, and they would take us to all these other industries along it's the I-88 corridor, which is kind of on the way to NIU. And so it was kind of neat. I got hooked up with a lot of people that were in a position that could help me with my career, and kind of took that into a number of directions. I decided after I worked with the internships to get into grad school, and that's when I started working on my master's up at NIU as a grad student.
So the next question was, how did you get interested into becoming a technologist? Or like you said something about were really skilled with metals before your friends were? So.
Well, I got into it in high school, and then after I got out of college, I got a job, which is the ultimate goal, right? So I worked for a Komatsu Dresser Company in Libertyville, and I was a mechanical engineer there. And so my job was to work on motor graders, which are like those big machines on the side of the road, like Caterpillar has. Motor graders kind of have like a snow plow in the middle of it, and they flatten the road. They grade the road. So I worked for them in Libertyville for 2 years, and we designed all these motor graders. And it was really cool because it was this big manufacturing facility up in Libertyville, Illinois. So when you're in Home Depot and you look at the lumber aisle, okay, and you see the boards with the green plastic strap on them, those were the machines that I helped design. And so it was high-strength 10X plastic. I did that for 3 years, and then I got into education after that.
Awesome. We've talked about you teaching here. You started in '95. Is there any other places you've taught?
Well, I taught at the high school level and at the vocational level. I got into teaching at College of Lake County, where I taught CAD, because I didn't need a teaching certificate at that time. And so I was able to go from being a senior design engineer at ITW Signode to teaching. And that was pretty cool. But it's a different environment because at a vocational center you have all these students that come to a college, and then it's like a voc-ed where basically it's like a career path, and they had like really high-end metal shops and CAD and electronics and things like that. I think what it kind of comes down to is I had a lot of hands-on experience and good. I had good teachers myself. I still remember my high school shop teacher. I still connect with some of the guys in District 214. And so it's pretty cool because, they're bringing all of it back, and I'll see some of the people that I worked with and advisors. And my students is kind of neat too because, some of the guys that were just kind of like not real serious as high school students, they did really well. And so, you don't have to get all A's and B's and be on the honor roll to, be successful in the career field. And so, guys like Josh Altergott over at CATI, he reps SolidWorks and he's the technical support guy. A number of other guys, have done really well with their companies too. And it's kind of neat because they'll see you on social media now, and so they'll hit you on LinkedIn or something else. You're like, oh wow, okay. Never thought I'd hear from you again, but it's good that you're doing well. Because. What do you think? At 20 years old, there's so many things that you can go into. Yeah. And something like engineering or technology is kind of practical, and so it's sort of the last thing on people's lists of what they think would be cool. The image of working in a manufacturing facility isn't really repped very well in the United States. People have an idea that it's like this smoky, wheelie shop, where people are, kind of in there turning wrenches like in those old black and white movies. But they're really nice. I mean, most of your manufacturing industries are very profitable and very well maintained. And so if you go into them, a lot of people are like, wow, this is great, and the benefits are good. And so that's kind of my advice, for guys that are looking at it. Don't be fooled by the media. There's all these police shows and dramas about how cool it is to be in certain careers, but they don't really have something like that. Maybe a little bit of MacGyver-ish kind of stuff, but it wasn't realistic.
So the last question I wanted to go over is what is an important skill or something to be a technologist or mechanical engineer, various other skills?
I think you kind of have to like the technology aspect of it. Like if you find working with computers and materials and processes interesting, if you're somebody who likes figuring out how things work, or you like to build things, that's very cool. A lot of it, I think, is the ability to work in teams and to just have a desire to work with certain things. People who like cars, people who like mechanical devices work really well with it. And I think the attributes that you do need to have are, you have to have some patience. You have to be sort of a problem solver. You can't just go, oh, nothing works. Can I put it out there? There's a lot of people that can make things work, and you might look at it and go, wow, I didn't think you could get that. But it's the ability to figure out how to make it work, or the wanting to put things together. And so, yeah, I would say that good interpersonal skills. You don't have to be like a salesman type of person. You want to have good communication skills, but you don't have to be the guy who likes to stand up and give speeches or be the the orientation leader type person. You can be the quiet person who gets it done. Yeah, and so I think classes and kind of skills that people like. I think a good CAD course is very helpful. I found that's kind of an entrance into whether or not you have sort of what it takes to be able to do that type of work. And then you kind of go off from there into other areas like mathematics, and then how things work, like different processes and controls.
Thank you.
Yeah, you bet.
All right.
Okay.
So it's been Joe. Thanks for
Ben?
helping us out.
Yeah, no problem.
And we'll get back again.
Okay,
Thank you very much.
you're welcome.